Also, we have Scott Early here today, special guest. He spoke here, current executive director of the South Carolina Athletic Coaches Association. Special guest that I want to shout out, who's near and dear to my heart, is Mr. Bruce Julian. Mr. Bruce here, he's the former commissioner of officials for the South Carolina High School League, Clayton High graduate, married him a Joanna girl, Miss Becky. That's his better half. But what he's a lot famous for in Clayton is because, you know, Gene's territory, they got these rules analysts on TV. When you're watching the games on TV, they bring that rules analyst. Well, WPCC, Gene, Buddy, Harold, we got our own rules analyst. Every Friday night, he texts in Charlie, and he lets us know. And 9 times out of 10, Mike, Brian, 9 times out of 10, the officials got it right on the field. And Bruce brings that. Thank you for being here, Bruce. Give him a hand. Before we go any further, we need to return thanks for our meal and have our invocation to do that from First Presbyterian Church in Lawrence. My good friend, he's going to come up and we're going to have Dr. Reverend Mike McCracken return thanks for us here today.
Friends, let's pray. Holy and loving God, we are grateful that we can gather around these tables and join in friendship and fellowship and take a few moments to enjoy a time where we just enjoy something that's fun. We look around the world, Lord, and see a world that sometimes feels like it's in disarray. We've seen destruction and damage in our own community and communities near us. We're grateful for times that you, even in the midst of all the work and all of the struggle, you call us to places of enjoyment. You call us to places of fun, and you call us to places of recreation where we can use talents, where we can see talents used, where we can be one community together. So we pray your blessings on our community. We pray your blessings on our neighbors. We pray for your blessings on our country as we go into this week where we pray that you can continue to bind us together, Lord. We pray all these things around these tables with this meal that nourishes us to go into the world and be your people. In your holy name, amen.
Thank you. Got a couple special announcements. Got a couple special announcements. The oyster roast, that is next Thursday. Next Thursday, Lawrence County Chamber of Commerce. They call it the College Football Fan Challenge with our Blue Hose, Tigers, Gamecocks come out. The food, the gates open at 5. It's at the Chamber facility. We all know where that's at, 291 Professional Park Road. Address is Clayton, but it's right in the middle. Tickets are still on sale. Sponsorship is still available. It's the 16th annual, the signature event of the Lawrence County Chamber of Commerce, what we do for is sports in the community. And you know what that means? We got the steamed oysters, the low country bowl, the chicken gumbo, got college football sleds, and the silent and live auction. That is next week on Thursday at the Chamber. See any of us afterwards or any of the Chamber officials, Ms. Grayson, and they can go more over that with you. Also, I want to say this because at the end you may not catch it, but our next meeting is not going to be in 2 weeks. It's going to be in 3 weeks. We improvised the schedule to accommodate. Everything had to adapt. So November the 21st, in 3 weeks, we'll be right back here. So instead of 2, it'll be 3. And the banquet, due to the high school playoffs and everything the way it's got to do, our coaches, Coach Porter, Coach Fountain, they want to go down there to the All-Star games. So our banquet has been moved. It's right here at the Ridge. Thank you, Jason, Andy, for all you do. On January the 8th, that's a Wednesday at 6 p.m. We don't like to use Wednesdays. I know Crown. I do myself, Crown. I know that's church night. But with the improvisation and the fact that the Raiders and the Crusaders and Red Devils will all be in basketball mode at the same time, and possibly players that could win awards that will be playing, not to take away from their Raider basketball teammates. You know where I'm going with this. So Wednesday just worked out for it, and we'll do it on that night, Wednesday, January the 8th. The all-county team and the Lawrence County Touchdown Club Coach and Player of the Year will be announced that night. At this time, before we go any further, Gene's will come up. I'm proud of my company, Lawrence County Farm Bureau Insurance. on our Players of the Week.
All right, as Buddy mentioned a couple of weeks ago, I think it was the October 18th week. Player of the week for that day was wide receiver, defensive back Chris Moore. One of the nice of Chris come forward. One of the players that had on that night, like a region game, it was 56-22 for Windows over Orlando as well. This gentleman had 5 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown. He also had a kickoff return for 71 yards. He made a pay earned as well. Offensively, defensively, he had 6 tackles and 2 pass attempts breakups. Coach Fountain says, Chris Moore works hard every day. Is the ultimate competitor on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. Translates his play onto the field. He gives everything he has on every single play. He's not only a great person, but a great player, but a great person as well. October 18th, Player of the Week for Clinton High, Chris Moore. Give him a round of applause. And then last Friday night, again, it's Clinton Red Devils. Offensive defensive lineman, Clayton Lawson. Clayton, come forward, please. Clinton High defeated Blacksburg by a score of 61-14. As you can tell, this is a big old line guy. Rated 90% offensively, had 3 pancake blocks as well. Led the way. The Red Devils that night rushed 478 yards, had 605 yards of total offense. A lot of it was behind the offensive line. And this gentleman right here. On the defensive side of the ball, he had 3 total tackles, 1 tackle for loss. Coach Fountain said that Clayton was a hard worker in the offseason and the strength and conditioning program, and currently as well during practice. He's a hard-nosed player with offense and defense and sets the tone in the trenches. Has a high motor and barely comes off the field, which is rare for a big man. It's fun watching this 2-way throwback style player on Friday nights. October 25th, Player of the Week, Clayton Lawson of Clinton High. They just mentioned that Farm Bureau Insurance gives our awards. Buddy had a birthday a couple of weeks ago. Let's give Buddy a round of applause for his birthday as well. Before we hear from our coaches, we've got a couple of guys here we want to recognize as well. If you recall our first meeting back in August, we had an official from District 13, our local district of high school. Had 50 years and 700 games. Well, we got a guy today. He's not in District 13. He's not from Lawrence County. But this gentleman has spent his livelihood and his lifehood officiating 3 sports: football, basketball, and baseball. He's a friend of mine. He's a mentor of many of the officials. And Dennis O'Keefe. Dennis, stand up and please come forward as well. This gentleman, I like that. Has 50 years of officiating, always 660th game this past Friday night on the field. I think it would just be tremendous. Charlie can tell you, officiating is a rare breed, and we lose officials across the board. But we lose a great one in Tommy Stribble, we lose a great one in this gentleman, Dennis O'Keefe. It's a clerical error here, we're going to straighten it out. But on behalf of Lawrence County, we want to recognize from Columbia, great official statewide, Mr. Dennis O'Keefe. Also, I want to recognize as well,
what you call
we talked about Coach Scott early here, Executive Director of the South Carolina Athletic Coaches Association. And we talked about moving our banquet because everything would happen with LE. The Touchdown Energy Corpus Bowl has been moved to December 21st, I think. Is that correct? One of our local officials from District 13 has been selected. And if you're an official, by the way, you call regular season games, you like to call postseason games, but one of the highest honors is to be one of the all-star games. One of our local officials, Mr. Scott Patterson. Come forward, Scott. Scott Patterson has been selected as the umpire. This is the 77th annual Touchdown Bowl. Scott Patterson from District 13, our local Lawrence County district and greater, will be our umpire for that game. Let's give Scott a round of applause as well. Now I'll turn it back over to Blake, when you're ready.
Great. I'm already loud enough. I use this one. All right, we're getting ready to get going, but again, I want to thank School District 56, Dr. O'Shields is going to speak at the end prior to the door prizes. Also, Clarence Young. Clarence, thank you for being here on behalf of Prisma and for let Justin know we're so appreciative. And for Miss Cheyenne and for Miss Melissa and you, Sheriff, want to thank y'all for putting this event on today. They are our game day sponsor. This week, our Blue Hose will be hosting, and they will be hosting Dayton. 1 o'clock kick, Coach?
Yeah, 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock kick. Coach is going to take the mic just a minute. The Raiders will be traveling to Greenwood to take on Emerald. Lawrence Academy is going to King Academy, and the Red Devils have a bye. They're not playing this week. For some reason, they played 10 straight weeks except for the interruption, and the bye is at the end. But right now, it's time to meet our coaches, let them talk. So I'm going to go with you first, Coach Englehart. If you will come on. This is from the Presbyterian College Blue Hose. Man, they were so close, they finally kicked that door in down there in the great state of Florida. This is our coach for our Blue Hose, Coach Englehart.
Thanks, buddy. It's good to be back. I haven't been here in several weeks. I couldn't come to the last one. I was a little under the weather, so I had some of the other coaches come by. But, you know, we have been really close, you know, painfully close. 4 weeks in a row we had, you know, less than a touchdown type of game with 2 of them being overtime losses. So, you know, those hurt pretty bad. And our kids were definitely after the last one, the homecoming against Drake. You know, we lost that one in overtime. And, you know, our kids were hurting pretty bad, you know, after that one on Sunday, Monday, trying to get them to come back and just you know, encourage them, just keep showing up. These are life lessons. You just got to keep showing up. You got to keep showing up for your family. You got to keep showing up to your job. You got to keep showing up for your boss or whatever the case may be, and just keep showing up and good things will happen. We was able to go down to Stetson in Florida and play really good from start to finish, and I'm really proud of our guys for getting that win. So really looking forward to what that jolt of energy did to our team. And looking forward to seeing how they play this weekend against Dayton. So really appreciate the support and getting you guys out to Bailey Memorial Stadium at 1 o'clock on Saturday. Appreciate it. And as we don't know if I'll see anybody else before we get started in the playoffs and all that type of stuff. So, you know, good luck to everybody this week and move forward. Thank you.
Up next, giving our Raider report, Coach Greg Porter.
Every week we feel like we play the best team in the state of South Carolina, every week. But I tell you what, last week we played against Westside High School and we found out that was the best team in the state of South Carolina. It was extremely fast and it was quite a lesson for our players. But today I was able to bring Price Turner and Brock Franklin. They always make sure we get on, you know, the scoreboard. They do an excellent job, and I appreciate it. And Denari Jackson, our running back, has been tremendous. Sometimes the blocking is not always there, but he never complains and he never makes an excuse. He just go out there and give 100%. So it's some great building blocks we have as the years come. But once again, it was a tough loss, and as we get ready to go down to next week, this week we play Emerald. We're looking forward to it. It'll be my 200th game. So I'm trying to find whatever I can to motivate these players to play hard. So hey, help me win the 200th game, guys. Help me. Come on. So I appreciate that.
Next up for the Clayton Red Devils, please welcome Coach Corey Fountain.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for everything you do. Thanks for the awesome meal. I was a little nervous. We have the commissioner of referees in South Carolina High School League, all the referees in here. I haven't got a flag thrown on me yet. You know, after that last game, we had 18 flags thrown on us, man. It was pretty brutal. We need to start making them this chicken and green beans and macaroni, putting that in the locker room instead of whatever food we put in there. But we appreciate that food. We might need to start eating this for after game meals again, too. Just kidding. But anyways, we don't have a game this week. I brought with me some guys that over the last 2 weeks have been doing an awesome job for us. First up, Chris Boyd. He's playing safety for us, weak safety for us. He plays receiver. He's on special teams, as you heard, and he gets the job done and does it well on all sides of the football. It's fun to watch him play. I know that there's a huge, bright future for him, Chris Boyd. Even better kid. Next up, we have DJ Clark, who's been so consistent. He plays offense, he plays defense. Been taking a bigger role on offense and defense now, but he's a senior, and he's doing a great job for us, and I know look forward to him doing great things for the rest of the year. Brett Young, last 2 games he's had a pick 6 and another interception. He's always around the football, always making tackles, a leader on the field, and just does a great job for us on defense, Brett Young. Clayton Lawson, you heard earlier, was also a player of the week, just an old school throwback player. At the beginning of the year, we had to wait on him a little while. His brother and him got the dust up, and his brother threw him in the fire. I thought you were stronger than that, Clayton. But he come back strong and been doing a great job for us on offense and defense. I want you to know I didn't wrestle a bear. My gears didn't influence me. I caught an elbow from a wild 7th grader on the middle school run mesh, period. So that's how I got this on my eye. So it wasn't my wife either. So looking forward to bye week. We're going to watch some other teams play. Looking forward to Liberty coming in that next week. It's going to be for the region championship. If you're a Red Devil fan, come out and watch us play. Thanks.
Before you start, I do want to acknowledge that Coach Blythe and Coach Doolittle have brought a Lawrence Academy Crusader legend. This is Luke Lawson. Luke, quarterback back in the day, probably hit baseballs over there that they still looking for. Just want to acknowledge it. Also, I hope you do it. If not, the girls, the volleyball team at Lawrence Academy just won their 3rd straight state championship. Ladies and gentlemen. Coach John Doolittle.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thanks for this meal. One of our captains here, Hack Hardy, he's been begging me to come every week just to make sure we have fried chicken one of them. So we got lucky today, Hack. So we thank you for this opportunity. It's always good to be here. The club does it as well as anybody, certainly anywhere I've ever been. Do have a table full today. Glad to introduce these guys. Coach Plow, our AD, assistant coach for us, wears a lot of hats around the school. You mentioned Coach Tolleson. Yeah, I remember coaching against Luke Worthy, LA, one of the all-time best. Very lucky to have him call offense plays this year for us and last year. And then all 5 of our seniors. And I'm happy to bring them. Our guys, we wear around the shirt. And last year after one of the games, I said Bill's better than Ball. The guys were working real hard. Bill's not incentivized, it's already been done and complete, but we're building, and these guys have certainly had a hand in that. In today's society, everybody wants microwave success, and but true success comes from that crock pot style meal. Nobody wants to go through the trouble and wait for that, but it's certainly better to eat crock pot than out of the microwave. And so it's just a long process, and it takes a long time. These 5 guys have been around LA for a long time, and I don't think that they've ever experienced a winning season at the middle school level and their varsity careers. And we were able to get over that hump, but I don't feel like we're done. We're continuing to build. In the book of Nehemiah, when they're rebuilding the wall of Jerusalem, it says they worked with one hand and held a sword with the other. And that's what these guys have done. They've worked extremely hard with one hand. They've had to fight over the temptations maybe of the past, the people around them, to get a wall built, to help build a program. And we certainly, you mentioned the volleyball program, it's a phenomenal job of those ladies. It wasn't handed to them either. They worked extremely hard. So we're proud, we're blessed to be at a school that understands that hard work and dedication, a relentless pursuit of the objective are very important endeavors. And sometimes you have to go through tough times. And the guys that stay eventually get what they want built. So I'm proud of these guys. Garrett Murphy's had an outstanding season. Hack Hardy, two-way lineman for us. It all starts up front with us. Garrett's putting up phenomenal numbers offensively, defensively. Anthony Candelas, what we call a big steel, plays outside linebacker, defensive end, tight end for us. Tremendous job blocking. When we put the football in the air a couple weeks ago against Newberry, had a nice long touchdown reception. Good to see. Spires Cameron, defense back, skill guy for us, and just a phenomenal job of getting us lined up in the secondary. It's been a great teammate. Jay Miller's wonderful guy. Last year I called him our Billy Graham. I think it should be said, and I think it's worth noting, especially in today's society, even at a small school, even at a small Christian school, this is a guy that voluntarily leads us in prayer after every practice. So that especially means a lot to me, but certainly a good player for us. A lot of these guys, all of these guys are incredibly unselfish. Of course, the linemen, we know they're unselfish, but even our skill guys, how well they block when they aren't getting the ball. We tell them no block, no block. And they certainly are very unselfish and has contributed to our success this year. But we can keep it going. We got King in a important game Friday night, and if we win that, points, we have a chance to host a home playoff game, something that hasn't been done in 5 years, I believe, in LA. So that would be a tremendous accomplishment, one of many for these guys, and we just love to keep it going. Thank you for your time.
Charlie, looking forward to this. We got the right man. We got the right man to introduce you right here. And before I introduce David, I just want to say this about that table. You mentioned this man right here runs this touchdown club. He puts his heart into it. He's so thoughtful. He's so considerate. He thinks outside the box. All I do is take a mic and do what he tells me to do. But I want you to know something. The best of the best, when it comes to that other team, we know about these teams. Sit at that table right there. Thankless job. Mr. Truman's not here. Mr. Sam, Mr. Bill Shealy, have gone on to be with the Lord. They follow a legacy that means something to them. So on the day when Charlie's coming, we get the right man, David, who is a part of that table, to introduce. It's another team that's on the field that if you didn't appreciate them, you wouldn't even have a game. Up next, also board member, helps us run this club, does anything you ask him to do, Dr. David Pitts.
Thank you, Larry. Before I introduce our speaker, Coach Brown, you just made a comment that you never received a flag for a penalty. Well,
No, I said I was worried that when I walked in here today, I was gonna receive a flag.
well, in case you want to know how to do it, just see my friend Scott over there. I'm kidding you.
No, I guess.
And by the way, they didn't tell you about Cindy Jacobs. She runs another full-time job. Scott is the director of the South Carolina Athletic Coaches Association, and Cindy Jacobs is the assistant director of the South Carolina Athletic Coaches Association. Well, I have the distinct honor and privilege of introducing our guest speaker, Mr. Charlie Wentzky. Charlie is currently the Deputy Commissioner for the South Carolina High School League. He is fair, he is consistent, and he is even-keeled, which is exactly what coaches and officials need. He will address me if I need addressing as an official, and he will address coaches if teams or student athletes or coaches need to be addressed. He does it with integrity, fairness, and equitability. He takes his job seriously, and while the computer does assign most officials, Charlie does look at them. He works diligently to be sure that all classifications, 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, and 5A, are well represented and deserve quality officials across the state of South Carolina. And for that reason, he has implemented a mentoring program this year where veteran officials were assigned with newer officials to try to train up the next generation of officials. And I appreciate that, Charlie. I think this will prove to be beneficial for high school football in South Carolina for this year and for years to come. He is a 1997 graduate of the Esquire Coach Board at Westside High School. From Anderson, South Carolina, he played football and baseball at the College of Charleston. He graduated there from 2001, where he was a 4-year letter winner in baseball. He began his teaching career and coaching career at AC Flora High School for 2 years. He moved on to Spring Valley, where he became the head baseball coach. He returned back to AC Flora as the athletic director for 4 years. In 2015, the South Carolina High School League hired him as the associate commissioner. He has been promoted to the deputy commissioner. He currently oversees the sports of football, soccer, baseball, and handles all investigations. In his time, he has also overseen sports of basketball, wrestling, softball, and lacrosse, as well as handling ejections and transfers. Currently, he serves on the National Federation of High School Association Football Rules Committee, which is a big deal, and has served a 4-year term on the NFHS Education Committee and the Baseball Rules Committee. He is the son of Ted and Libby Wentzky, both Coach Englehart graduates of Presbyterian College, where his father played football and was an NAIA All-American. Charlie and his wife Laura have 5 children, ages 2 through 17. Please help me and give him a Lawrence County Touchdown Club welcome to my boss, my colleague, and my friend, Mr. Charlie Wentzky.
That's probably the nicest thing you've ever said about me publicly. I'm glad you can read well. David's right, I will call and address him. Usually I have to wait for him to get done driving the bus the afternoon to be able to get him on the phone first. I'm really honored to be here. I want to thank Gene for inviting me here, and I want to give a little nugget out that I don't know Gene knows I know, but I heard tomorrow is your 49th wedding anniversary. Congratulations to you and Miss Clovis. She said keep working on Friday night. She likes her quiet time those nights at home. When I got ready to come today, I was kind of concerned about what to wear, so I figured I knew I couldn't wear red. I knew I couldn't wear green and gold, but I knew if I wore PC colors, I'd be okay with most people in here. So I hope I didn't offend anybody by what I wore. Interestingly enough, we don't ever know how our worlds are going to be brought back together or brought around us. But I heard a name today that I haven't heard in a long time. It's Luke Lawson. I coached him, back in 2004-ish, maybe 5, on a travel baseball team. In fact, you were on that team with Coach Toe Patterson too, right? And some other guys from Lawrence High School. So I had the pleasure of watching these guys, and I heard Luke's name today for the first time in a long time, which is always great. I remember when I first met Luke, he told me he played football. I think he played quarterback, if I remember correctly. And I asked him how his year went. I think he said something like, Coach, I threw for 400 and 4,000 something yards. And I said, dude, what? What offense do y'all run? He said, oh, we play 8-man. We throw it every down. It's fun. So that's awesome to be able to come here today and to have that kind of world brought back in full circle of people you've been around. To the coaches and players, congrats on what you do and what you've accomplished. To the players, understand your accomplishment and awards today weren't earned on one Friday night. They were earned throughout the week, they were earned throughout the summer, and they've been earned throughout the years. And not only is that about the award today, that's about any award or accomplishment you achieve in life. You're not earning it that singular moment, you're earning it in the process to get to that singular moment. So congratulations to you on your hard work in that process to earn this achievement in the singular moment you did last Friday. So congrats to you. To the coaches, keep doing what you do. You have no idea how big of an impact you have on young people. Whether you are winning every game, you're just right there in every game, or you are behind in every game, or you've won as much as you can possibly win and can't ever think about losing ever again. Your impact outside the wins and losses is far greater than you'll ever know. And I think all of us in here that as adults, we don't understand, we can remember the coaches in our lives that impacted us and helped shape us to develop the road and the path that we went down. So thank you, and keep doing what you do is my challenge to you. Gene asked me to talk about a couple things. You know, the high school league, and David just read out all the things that I do, and it sounds a lot more impressive than what I really do. What I really do is I sit in what we call the complaint department. I take all the complaints. And when I call people back out, I get more complaints. And the complaints keep building. And it's okay, because it's part of the work. But you know what? It is what it is. And it's always busy. And what I do know is that you never know what day is going to bring. You never know what week's going to bring. I don't know what it's going to be like when I get back or how many messages I'm going to have on this phone when I get done talking today. What I do know is I enjoy what I do. It's fun. I wouldn't be here if Bruce Ollian hadn't encouraged me to apply for this job. I told him, I remember when he said, why haven't you applied? I said, I don't think I can do it. And his response was, sure you can. And that's all I needed was that nudge to do it. And if he hadn't given me that nudge, there's probably somebody else standing here talking to you today. So I appreciate him for that nudge and for his mentorship in my first half of the year there, and continued mentorship today. For those of you that don't know, Buddy, I know y'all talk to him every Friday. He tells me every Monday about the ridiculous questions y'all ask him on Friday. So he and I talk every week. Helene certainly presented us a lot of challenges, simply because it just interrupted what we all knew best, which was consistency of life and consistency of schedules. On our end, what made it a challenge was it only impacted about a third of the state. And how do you navigate a challenge for a third of the state when the other 65, 66% were not impacted in any capacity? How do you make it equal? How do you make it fair? Well, the problem is you try making it equal and say we're going to give everybody 2 weeks back. Now we've got 132 schools that are going to be sitting for 2 weeks that they never were anticipating sitting, and most notably at the end of the season. So the process was, let's wait and see the total impact before we start making a recommendation. That process was a little bit slower than some wanted, understandably, but at the same time we got through it and we were able, I think, to make a great decision to allow our athletes to get back on the field and to have a chance to compete. One quick story I want to share with you today is when I first got into this job, the first game I went to, there was an official there watching the game, and he told me a story. He said that he worked a game about 10 years prior, and he was a linesman, and they had a play, coach threw a visiting team threw a pass, completed it for 10 yards, broke a tackle, ran for 30, and he said, I look back and there's a flag in the middle of the field from the umpire, which most of you in here that know football know that flag's probably for one of two things, a hold or an eligible downfield. And he said, the coach asked him, he said, what was the foul? He said, hold on a second, let's see. The referee gave a signal. He said, Coach, you had an ineligible man. Coach said, I had a what? He said, you had an ineligible player downfield. He said, an eligible player downfield, who was it? Hold on, let me find out. Came back and he said, Coach, it was 52. 52 was an eligible downfield. And the coach looked at him and he said, Mr. Ref, I don't know what you know, but 52, there's no way he's ineligible. He passed every class last year. He's on that field because he's eligible. And the official stopped and he looked at him and he said, Coach, I don't know anything about academics, but 52 can't go downfield on a forward pass. And the coach looked at him and he said, oh, I thought you were talking about the kid's grade. I'm sorry, you just keep doing what you do. It told me in that moment when I heard that story that one, in athletics, we never know what we're going to hear next and we never know what's going to happen next. But two, we have got to be piercingly clear in our communication. Had that official looked at that coach and he said, Coach, 52 was an ineligible lineman downfield, the question of academics never would have come up. But that piercingly clear comes in all of us that are leadership positions, whether you are the director of an organization, you run a hospital, you run a school district, you run a coaches association, you work at the high school league, or you coach a team. We've got to be clear on the front end of everything so that everybody understands our policies, our rules, and our procedures. Because the biggest threat to us now in society, and although all of you in here that are in leadership positions can attest to this, is that everybody, when the policy or the rule impacts them, they then want an exception. They want to find the exception. How do we get around this rule? Now that it impacts me, I don't like it, let's fix it. Well, all of us that are in those authoritative positions, the officials, the coaches, administrators, athletic directors, executives, we know we start making an exception that doesn't exist. Once we do it once, we're going to have to do it over and over and over and over again. The word no has been lost in our vocabulary. It has been lost at the bottom level, at the middle level, and sometimes at the top level. Because what we want to do, because of social media, is when something impacts somebody we know that they don't like, we want to rally to their support instead of telling them, you don't like it, let's seek change. Because what we fail to realize sometimes is when that rule or that procedure or that policy has been put into effect on us, it's not to penalize us, it is to reward those that have fallen it every single time. See, so many times I hear they called 3 touchdowns back on holds. Well, had they not called 3 touchdowns back because you held, then the other 120 plays in that game that they did not hold, we are deleting that from being the right way to do it. And we're saying it's acceptable not to follow the rule just because you had success. So what we have to remember is when we don't follow the rules, sometimes we don't get to have the success. In football, it's clear. You don't follow the rule, you get penalized yardage. The result of the plays coming back. The touchdowns coming off the board. In high school athletics, you don't follow the rules, you know what happens? You forfeit games. Kids become ineligible. Your team doesn't go to the playoffs. You lose practice days, depending on the volume of the violation. In life, we don't follow the rules. What happens? We pay the price. We pay the fine. We go to jail. But once we start setting those exceptions and we start challenging those that are in those authoritative positions for their authoritative decisions that were already in place, then we're disrupting the whole system. So we've got to make the word no a part of our vocabulary. No, there's no exception. No, I'm not going to stand with you and fight because you're being treated the way it said you were going to be treated when you did this. We've got to respect our authority. The best thing we have in high school athletics still is those 5 guys on a football field on Friday night, when they make the decision, guess what? That's it. We don't go to the booth to review it. We can talk about it all weekend, we can talk about it the next week, and we can see it on film. But that decision was final. The one thing as a parent, I've always taught my children, and I have 5 of them, so it's a lot to teach them, is that I'm not coming to your aid when something doesn't go your way. I'm not going to fight a battle when they're applying a rule and a policy the right way against you. I'll stand beside you when you get the penalty. I'll help you navigate the challenge, and I'll help you come around it and get out over to the other side to be a better person for it. But I'm not going to ask for an exception for you. You don't turn the assignment in, you get a 0. The only time I'm going to come to their aid is if they're not being held to the same standard as everybody else, when they're being treated different. When they don't turn that assignment in on time and they get a 0, but 10 others didn't turn it in on time and got a grade. Now, I'll fight with you because you're not being treated the way it said you were supposed to be treated. Because others aren't being treated that way. See, the coaches in here know, and those of you that have coached, you know, and the officials know. We have rules, we have procedures, we have policies. But they're all, on the front end, we have the exceptions labeled out. Coaches will tell you, you miss practice, you don't play the first half, you don't play the game. But if you're sick from school, we'll deal with that. If you have a funeral, we'll deal with that. A family emergency, case by case by case basis. So they said on the front end, here's some exceptions. But they also know that if they let you not come to practice and still play because you're the best player, an exception's been made. And now everybody else on that team wants it. I've relayed to my kids, my oldest 2 have been in high school and middle school sports for the last 5 years. The officials are the final authority. Your teachers are the final authority. Your principal, your coaches, other adults, if you go to their house, they're the final authority. That's it. That's how we work in our house. That's how we operate in the Wentzky household. Don't come to me questioning that authority. I was taking my daughter to a lacrosse tournament 2 weekends ago in North Carolina, and the very last game of the last day we were there, I'm watching her play. My daughter's a pretty good athlete, but she's not as good as she can be because she likes to be nice to everybody and she's really friendly. But when she gets aggressive, she becomes really, really good, really quick, and I get very excited as her father. Well, she's playing a lacrosse match, and all of a sudden, she absolutely trucks this girl. And the girls lacrosse, you're not supposed to touch her. But she trucked her, and she earned that yellow card, and she deserved to sit out for the next 4 minutes. And I was fine with it. Not because she got a yellow card, because I was finally happy she was playing aggressive, because she played better. And when she sat across from me on the field in the penalty box, she looked at me and I just nodded my head and she nodded back. I don't know what message she got from me, but my message for her was, keep playing hard. She gets back in the match, and 5 minutes later, she got another yellow card. Now I'm going to tell you, the first one she probably earned 3 yellow cards for what she did the first time. The second one, the girl acted well. Because an arm touching an arm doesn't cause a human being to fall down and collapse like it just got shot by a cannon. But she got it. She sat over there across the field, and I'm sitting there all wrapped up because it's 40 degrees. That's how much I love her. And she looks at me, and I didn't nod, and she goes like this. And I just stared a blank hole right in her. And she goes like this, and I stared a blank hole in her. And she got back in, she finished playing, and we got in the car that day to go home, and she looked at me, she said, "Dad, you didn't say anything about the second one." I said, "What do you want me to say?" "Well, you didn't say anything." "What do you want me to say? You want me to stand up in my chair and yell at the official and tell her how bad the call was?" "Well, no." "Did you want me to get mad at you because you didn't yell at the official on the field?" She said, well, no. "So what were you or I going to do that was going to change what just happened to you?" You said nothing. But so what do you want me to say? What did you learn? She said, "Well, I guess we don't always like what happens to us." I said, "Exactly. We don't always like what happens to us. But what we do learn is when things happen to us we don't like, we learn how to not do it again." And she learned a lesson. When you got an official that's going to give cards out sometimes and not warranted, don't do that stuff again. But she also learned that whether she liked that official's call or not, it was their call. And she respected it. So my 14-year-old got a reminder of things I've told her for the last 5 or 6 years and been telling her brother for the last 10. Last week I was in my backyard playing wiffle ball. I got a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old. My 7-year-old, he'll do everything he can to beat you. He loves changing the rules in the middle of the game. For example, we usually have a run limit every inning. Well, the last inning when he's down and he needs more than 5, new rule, we get 6 this inning. So we've had to establish this protocol that says, listen, when we're playing, let's set the rules first. How many runs before we switch? How many outs does each team get? Are we going to count the home run as an out and a run, or just a run this time? We get them all laid out. And we're not changing. Just like we do at the high school league, just like we do in the coaches association, just like the policy of a human resource manual or a school district, we set it all on the front end. So when it happens on the back end, we all knew what to expect. So we're playing in this wiffle ball match. And I got to tell you, my 4-year-old, he's as sweet as sugar, but he's something else too. He's the one that'll smile and laugh with you, and you turn your head, and next thing you know, he's peeing down your leg. And I'm telling you, true fact, that's happened to me. But he's very observant. And I didn't realize how observant until we started playing more and more in the backyard, because what his favorite thing to do when we play, because see, we all umpire or officiate in everything we do. We take turns. It's kind of a revolving door. Whoever's the closest makes the call. Who's ever involved makes the call. We all go along with it. But my 4-year-old, who can't spell his name, can't write his name, he can't do math problems yet, but boy, he can call replay review. And if it's a close call, and it's somewhat close, or it doesn't go in his or his team or his brother's favor, it's replay review in every sport. And he'll run to the tree, or the deck post, or any object that's standing vertically, and he will place his head on it and put his hands over his eyes and stare into a monitor that doesn't exist. And after watching for 10 or 15 seconds, he'll turn back around and he'll announce what the call was. 9.5 out of 10 times the call is benefiting him or his brother, or the team that he is on, depending on the day. So the other day we were playing, and they were playing against me, and I'd made my mind up towards the end, okay, today's the day they're losing. They're going to learn a lesson. I usually come close and let them win, and everybody's happy, but Mom wasn't there, and I said, you know what, they're losing today. So we come to the last inning where I'm batting, and I got 1 out, and I know I got a homer left in the tank, because that homer's going to be my last out, but I know if I get one more guy on, the homer's going to win this thing, and they're going to be upset, but they're going to learn a lesson today. So I get a hit, I round first, I run to second. Now granted, I'm talking rounding first, running second, which means I'm running the coach early and then over to that table right there. I'm not running far. As I land on second, I'm standing idle on second, and my 4-year-old's throw with the wiffle ball hits me in the leg. I look at him and I say, all right, I'm safe. Time, I'm going to hit. I'm in my mind walking because I'm about to hit the game-winning walk-off homer, and I'm going to send them into misery for the next 20 minutes, and then they're going to learn a lesson. As I'm walking back to hit, he goes, replay, review. Okay, go do it. Deep down inside, I'm holding out thought and hope that this will be that 0.5 time that he's honest. Because this ain't even close. He gets into the tree, he locks in, he turns back around, he turns his mic on, and he stands there in his 4-year-old voice, he says, after photo review, the umpire says the ball hit the man on the leg before he touched the base. You're out. Game over. I looked at him and I said, you have got to be kidding me. I was safe. I am batting. There's one more out. And you were up 1 run and the game is about to be over. And as I take steps to the plate, my 7-year-old says, Dad. And I stop and I turn. And he's got his finger up. He says, he is the official. His decision is final. And just like you, I chuckled. But deep down, I was reminded of 2 things. Number 1, our young people, no matter how young they are never too young to hear the messages about what's right. My 4-year-old, my 7-year-old, they're hearing the messages I'm telling my 17 and my 14-year-old. They're hearing the messages when we watch games on TV and dad or mom says, don't know if the call's right, but the official made it. Number 2, no matter what position we hold in life or what our age is or the age difference in the person delivering us the message, we're never too experienced and we're never at a point where we can't learn or be reminded of a lesson from somebody else. So they taught me in that moment, not only, remember Dad, the official's decision is final. Guys, I do that 300 days a year. Remember, Coach, their decision is final. I tell principals that. We tell each other that. But my 7-year-old had to tell me that to remind me. And my 7 and my 4-year-old are hearing the messages that I'm telling my 17 and my 14-year-old. And even at their age and their competitiveness, they still get reminders today. So I tell you that to say, don't ever look at someone with their age and say, you can't teach me something. You can't remind me something. Because there's a 36-year age difference between my 7-year-old and me, but he reminded me of something. Sorry, 38 years, sorry. Math's off. But they're 7 and 4, and they're hearing messages I'm directing to 12 and 14 and 17-year-olds. So we're never too young to hear. We're never too young to hear respect authority. We're never too young to hear to respect the decision by the person who's in authority that they made. Because they've been given that authority, because they've earned that job. They've earned that position. They deserve to be there. We don't have to like them. We don't have to like the decision. And we don't have to like the rule or the policy. What we do have to do is respect it and move forward as we learn through it. And the inaction of change is to change it next time before it happens to somebody else. So to sum all that up, before I play wiffle ball again, the new rule before the game is going to be one person is replay review, and that's him, right here. Nobody else. That's how we're going to change that for the future. So I challenge you when you leave here and as you move back into your communities and schools, to encourage others, remind them, respect those that are in authority, respect them for their decisions, follow the process. The rules are in place, the procedures, they're in place for a reason. They're there to take care of everybody. They're there to reward those that do right. Yep, they punish those that do wrong. But for everyone that does wrong, there's 1,000 that did right. And that's who's being rewarded. Don't lose sight of those being rewarded just because we want to take focus on those that did wrong. Thank you all for having me today. I really appreciate you asking me to come here. Gene, I'll open the floor up to any questions anybody has that I can answer. Except for Dennis, you have one question, not two. Any questions of me? Yes, sir.
if a person goes to a high school game on Friday night and a college game on Saturday and watches a pro game on Sunday, I think you'd have to be really intelligent to have any idea what the rules are for each game. I understand that there are differences, but are there not some things in all sports where there could be common ground across all of them? Like, for instance, whether you start the clock when you mark a first down, or whether you, or whether interference is 15 yards or at the point of the foul. I understand that the game, the levels of skill, but are there some things that could be uniform from middle school to the NFL?
There are some things. There's a lot of things that are uniform, especially in the sport of football. Being on the rules committee, and Bruce could tell you because he was on that role before me, there are folks on that committee with us that are on NFL instant replay crews that officiate high levels of college football. And they write rule change proposals that would mirror those levels of football. But I think we've got to take into consideration the fact that, one, the level of the official in most cases that we're dealing with are not the same level that they're dealing with. They're dealing with guys and ladies who have worked their way up tremendously, who are the best of the best. Now, we've got a lot at our level that are the best of the best that could work those levels, but by choice have not. But then we've got a lot who we're just happy to have them at our level, and they're happy to be there. The other piece is, if you watch college football and you watch high school football, there's a big difference on that field. They got 8 on the field. We got 5. They got 1 in the booth. They still miss stuff. So in some of these rule changes that we get, we're asking us with 5 to do the same thing that 8 struggle to do. If we had 8, I'd be in favor of making it more uniform than what college does. Then the other aspect you got to remember is these guys right here, they're not the same physical athlete that those men are at the upper ranks. Some of them will be, but they're not yet. So we got to make sure our rules take care of those that can play the game to the levels they can here first. And then if it makes sense to make it similar, false start, encroachments, things like that, then yeah. But we've got to be very careful to protect our game at the purity level that it is still today. If that helps you at all. But if you look at every sport, baseball, basketball, they all have different variations of what they do at each level. Right. I mean, heck, in college basketball, the women's play quarters and the men's play halves.
Every level of basketball except men's college basketball, people play quarters.
Correct.
That, I don't know why.
$1 million questions sometimes. Any other questions? I'm happy to answer, yes, sir.
How are you guys doing with recruiting, getting younger officials involved?
Well, we are, our narrative this year's changed. We are on an increase. What I can't tell you is that increase 2 or 200. I know it's not 200. But we tried to change it this year to say, hey, we're short, to say, hey, we're on an increase, because our numbers have gone up. But when you talk about losing guys like Dennis O'Keefe, who's been doing it 50 years, the amount of experience and stuff he's seen in 50 years, Dennis can blink an eye and tell the guy that ain't right. Tommy Stribble. When you lose those guys, Brian Shealy, we got out a couple years back, when I'm hoping Mike Owens works about 10 more years. But when you start losing folks with the experience that they have, I can't replace that. Even if 10 new people come in next year, I don't replace a guy like Dennis O'Keefe with 10 people. I replace him with 10 more bodies, but not with the experience that I'm losing, because I can't replace that. And truthfully, I don't know that we're going to see the likes of what Dennis and Tommy Stribble and Brian Shealy have done in their careers in terms of the number of sports, the longevity, and the quality. I think that's going to be far fewer and far between that we're going to see those types of officials down the road, unfortunately. Anything else?
Yes.
That's it. I appreciate your time. Thanks for having me. And best of luck the rest of the year.
Great message. We're going to do door prizes. Dr. O'Shields, as one of our game day sponsors, is going to speak now. He's got something he wants to say to the group before Red Devils always have to leave. So, Dr. O'Shields.
I just want to say thank you. Neat things. Myself, pretty much easily to tell, was not an athlete per se, but there are so many great things that happen from athletics. The teammanship, the teamwork, the sportsmanship. Last night we had the county cross-country championship. Before the championship run, the teams from Lawrence Academy, from Clinton High, from Lawrence District 55 High were all recognized. That is a sportsmanship that I think is telling of what is important for society. Teamwork, I think, is another thing. And for me, this lady here makes my life very, very, very easy in a lot of different areas, as she does Scott's. But I wanted the people from District 56 who helped serve today to stand, because that's part of who we are as a district. If you helped serve the fried chicken that you had, would you stand today? And just sort of letting it be known, if Scott, Patterson, Jason, Mode, Brian, Sheely, and, well, Billy's not here, if they would stand, Scott, Brian, Jason, you talk about teamwork. Teamwork is something we talk about. We work hard. We do. Cindy coordinated summer feeding, as did other schools, 55 and others. We, thanks to them, served 84,751 meals last summer, and they were there. And guess what else was there? They were there. The football team was there. One of the players recognized was there. Toting melons, toting melons, toting melons to give out. So it's all dealing with the fact that regardless, sports brings the best out in people through teamwork and through sportsmanship. And that is something that we as a county can appreciate. So Lawrence, best of luck tomorrow night. Take down Emerald. Lawrence Academy, best of luck tomorrow night. I can't remember exactly. I'm trying to think who you play. Who do you play?
King.
King. All right, you played them before, so you know what to do, right? All right, so you know what to do. To my knowledge, I don't know if Clinton has ever played a Red Devil again, because next week we're playing Liberty, and they're Red Devils. And I don't think we've ever done it, because I don't think we played Great Falls. They're Red Devils. Lockhart was Red Devils. I don't remember ever there being a Red Devil versus Red
Before
Devil.
even you were born, David.
There you go.
And me too.
So, the thought is, good luck to y'all next week. Everyone, be appreciative of your team, your effort, your community, and your county, and your organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. O'Shea. Before you go to pictures, they'll take pictures. If you want to move this.